Hi there, this is Darren from SimNation. Tonight is the WWPF championship game. I'm going to drive right into that. Of course, WWPF is a Draft Day Sports Pro Football 2023 league. We will be moving to 2024 here shortly as soon as we flip the seasons. So if you're interested in the 2024 league, which is now in first access, definitely consider us. We do tend to adopt quickly. And there are a couple of us who actually have been testing this for a little bit now. So I'm looking forward to the new game. It has some really strong things, but I'll do a video about that separately. So let's kind of talk a little bit about tonight's game. So tonight's game is arguably probably one of the best up and coming coaches against the best coach in the league. So Invisible Witness is Carolina. He, in 3 seasons and being in the league, this being his third, he has been in the championship game 3 times. The first 2 times he lost to Pittsburgh and then beat Pittsburgh. So he has a championship under his belt. Peter, who is the coach of Oakland, has won the championship 9 times. He's been a three-peat and a five-peat championship before, and then of course he's been in this game 11 times, winning it 9. So, unfortunately, I was hoping that tonight would be Raynor versus Zelensky. So, Zelensky is the star quarterback for the Panthers. Raynor, of course, is the legendary quarterback for the Raiders, who owns pretty much every career record known to man. But Raynor, I don't know if it was in the Pittsburgh game. I think it was. Pittsburgh broke his wrist. So he won't be playing tonight. So it'll be interesting to see how Peter handles that, as Reno definitely has helped them get Hill. When I talk about the matchups, there are a couple of things to watch, but kind of talking about how they got Hill. By the way, I've already imported all the league files so that way I can just go straight into the game. Um, we talked about the first round previously, but I want to call out Detroit and Brian H. This was his first season, and he made it all the way to the division championship, beating Stewart, and of course in the first round, beating Chicago in the second round. And then, of course, Invisible beat Rick in a rematch of a previous week game, which Minnesota won. And again, like that, the difference this time being around, it wasn't really close. Zelensky played out of his mind and had a really good game. Oakland and New England wasn't as close as it's been previously. I think Peter was taking out some of his anguish of New England knocking him out of the playoffs last year. So that was 52-14. Raynor had a tremendous game in that one. And then, of course, Pittsburgh downed the New York Jets, which was DP versus me, with Lackey being the main reason and Pittsburgh's defense just stepping up to shut down New York's offense. Um, in the conference championships, Zelensky was a little bit too much for Detroit, as well as Fulcher. One of the people to watch tonight is going to be I'm sorry, one of the people who have had a really good season that helped keep the game close was Allard, who is, I think he's a second year. He's a second year wide receiver out of Maryland, who's been a go-to target for Detroit most of the season. And then, and arguably, what was a really, really great matchup, Peter and Oakland avenged their loss uh, in the second to last week of the season by defeating the Steelers. And their last drive was just one of those drives, probably akin to like San Francisco's drive against Cincinnati or Dallas, where they just came down the field and won it. So, um, unfortunately, that was also the game where Raynor got hurt. The Steelers are pretty renowned for putting quarterbacks out of the game, and they put him out. So Peter will come into this game without his star quarterback, which we'll see how that plays out. From a matchup perspective, you're talking about arguably the two strongest teams in the league this season. One of them is one of the best rush teams in the league, i.e., Oakland. One of them is one of the best pass teams in the league, Carolina. So Zelensky has had a great season. It's a shame Reynolds won't be playing in this game because he's really had a great season as well. Look for Peter probably to establish the run. Oakland certainly can do that. They have a great rushing attack. Both of these defenses are very, very solid. So it'll be interesting to watch Peter's rushing attack against the #1 ranked defense in the league against the run. And then it'll be interesting to see the passing attack at Carolina, which is one of the best in the league, against one of the best pass defenses in the league. So definitely the person to watch on the Carolina side is Zelensky. He's just someone who continues to shine. And then it'll be interesting to see how Peter approaches this game from an Oakland side. Easterling is someone you want to watch on, but they also have a running back named Leonard, who's another guy you want to keep an eye on. So that's kind of the matchup. What we're going to do is we're going to sim the game and then we're going to watch it, and I'll provide some commentary. I'm not going to talk a whole lot because my voice is a little shaky today. But without further ado, we shall sim it, and now we shall watch it. By the way, coming into this game, we're going to modify this slightly. Coming into this game, Oakland was a 3.5-point favorite. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how this plays out. So let's go ahead and play this. One key feature to look for in the new game is definitely this screen looks radically different in 2024. It actually looks really nice. So Oakland is kicking off to Carolina, and Carolina will start with the ball. And this is a good rush, it looks like. So we have Bledsoe, who is, of course, one of our top running backs. I'm going to change this up a little bit here. And one of the things you will see out of Carolina is Edwin Fulcher is a pretty phenomenal quarterback. And so it's 3 plays and out for Carolina with a really, really good punt. That is a 68-yard punt. Wow. So now it's Oakland. It'll be interesting to see. So they have Benny Giordano playing, who has had a lot of snaps over the years. So definitely great first play for Oakland, as they're already starting off on the right foot. He's going to throw the ball again. And another opening. Yep, Peter was off to a pretty fast start. Those are 2 really long plays in a row. And again, it's another throw. And he has all the time in the world, and that one's dropped. So you'll see them throw to Reagan a lot. Reagan is a pretty phenomenal wide receiver as well. We'll talk about him after the game. And that is a touchdown to Leonard, who's the running back I mentioned. So we're essentially pretty much 4 minutes, slightly under 4 minutes in, or over 4 minutes in. It's 7-0 Oakland. So Peter's definitely coming out throwing. I didn't expect that. I thought he would have tried to run the ball a little bit more, but he may have made that decision based on the defense of Carolina against the run. So let's see how Carolina responds. They're going to do a quarterback sneak, it looks like, or some type of quarterback option with Fulcher. Now they'll switch over to Zelensky. He's not a guy you normally want to give a lot of time in the ward to throw, but that pass is broken up. So it's 3rd down. And of course, they sniffed out the run. So it's another punt for Carolina. So that's 2 possessions, 2 punts. This is not as good of a return as the last one was. So, yeah, I think I'm used to seeing Invisible get started fairly quickly. We all know that traditionally Peter gets started very quickly, but Oakland's offense has definitely come out, and that looks like he threw it away. So Oakland is coming out very fast, and they're throwing the ball. Hopefully he doesn't see number 12, who's wide open. And that's a completion to Pendergrass, who's a pretty fast tight end. So very crucial 3rd down conversion there for Oakland. And they're going to go to the tight end again. No, that's Reagan. So really good start for Giordano, 4 of 6 for 109 yards, and finally Carolina gets into the backfield and gets a sack. That's coming off the linebacker of Donald Pimentel. So it's 3rd and 8. Let's see if Carolina can hold them here to a field goal to something else. You give Oakland that much time, they're normally going to do something to you. So another first down, and now it's 1st and goal, and Leonard will punch it in. So that's 2 possessions, 2 scores for Oakland. The extra point was good. So Oakland is up 14-0 early. Carolina definitely needs to respond here with something. A good kickoff return is always a good way to start. There's 5 minutes left in the first quarter. But definitely on offense, they need to get something going. That's looks like a edge blitz and really good key completion there. They needed that, so he finds Sullivan, who's one of the many targets that he has. Yeah, if I'm Carolina, I would switch into the pass mode. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So, and again, I think largely they're going to be able to sniff out some things. So, again, it's Fulcher off the edge, but it looks like the wide receiver they have a false start, which means 1st and 15. Zelensky is getting all the time in the world, and that could be a touchdown, and it is. So great response. A very quick drive that was less than 2 minutes, actually. It was like a minute and a half. But the good news for Carolina, it's now 14-7. They're right back in the game. It was looking kind of a little bit like Oakland was just going to run away with it. That's a touchback. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. We're starting to see a little bit more of a running attack here using Leonard. That's close to being a sack, but it won't be. And another really good long completion. This finding Leonard Leach. So Giordano is doing a really good job of channeling his inner Raynor. So that one's broken up. Carolina definitely needs to get a stop hill if they want to keep Oakland from running away with it. So it'll be 3rd and 5. We'll see if they run it or pass it. They're going to pass it. And that's a completion to Orta. Orta is someone also to keep an eye on. Barreto is actually one of the best cornerbacks in the league. I think he's a 2nd year. He could be a 1st year, but he's traditionally very good. And another touchdown for Peter, and that is 21-7 with 22 seconds left in the first quarter. So definitely Oakland is off to a very, very hot start. I can't remember how many times I've ever seen anybody score 21 points on Carolina in the first quarter. So we'll see if maybe they're going to try to slow it down a little bit, get some possession going. And unfortunately, that was incomplete. And they get a penalty, which is going to back them up to 2nd and 15. And Zelensky's having to move. So that was a completion, but it only makes it 3rd and 10 because of the penalty. So this is a pretty crucial 3rd down. That's a sack. So Jeremy Wyatt gets the sack for Oakland, which will force a punt and potentially open the door for Peter to score again. So this has definitely been all Oakland in the first quarter. We're now into the second quarter. And it'll be interesting to see if Oakland's offense just keeps humming. So, I mean, they're pretty much scoring at will so far. That was an incompletion, but Giordano is 9 of 12 for 198 yards, 2 touchdowns, and was still early in the second quarter. So they definitely need to get a stop hill. They're just one of the problems I think that Carolina is having is they're not getting much pressure on them, which a lot of the Oakland is not a team that you want to allow to sit back in the pocket, even if even without Reynolds, they're a team that if they get time, they will really start to shred you, which is kind of what we're seeing right now. So this is a run by Leonard, who gets it for 6 yards. They're inside the 10 at the 6. It's 2nd and 3. And we'll see if they're going to score again. It looks like they will. That falls incomplete. One of the things I do like about Oakland is they spread the ball, and that's a touchdown. So Leonard picks up his 2nd touchdown of the game. So definitely spotlighting Leonard. And I mean, Giordano's on just under 250 yards, and we still have a significant amount of time to play in the second quarter. I would definitely say that Peter so far is showing that he's had the right game plan. It's 28-7. Um, and it'll be interesting to see how Carolina responds. So great run. Plus they get the penalty for unnecessary roughness on top of it, which will help move them. Carolina definitely needs to respond here with a touchdown. Otherwise, this game is just going to get out of hand quick. Not that it's not already somewhat out of hand. But there's still a lot of time. Carolina has an explosive offense, and if their defense can get a couple stops, I definitely think that they can make it. Tyson DeVito is an interesting running back. He's probably one of the fastest people in the league. So it's good to see him getting the ball, and it's a pretty good run. So he's definitely using Fulcher a lot to try to change up the rushing attack for Carolina. So Bledsoe's doing okay, but I would have expected to see Zelensky throw the ball just a little bit more than he is. So 3rd and 11. We'll see if they can convert. He's got an opening, and of course it gets broken up. So they'll have to kick the field goal, and it's good. So 29-yard field goal. It's 28-10 with 4:39 left in the second quarter. So far this has been all Oakland. So 75 passing yards against over 250. So if you had told me at the beginning of this game that Giordano was going to be out passing Zelensky, I probably would not have believed you. But again, finding Leonard, the beauty of Leonard is he's a dual purpose back, and he's definitely showing that off in this game so far. So if you look at it, he's got 34 yards rushing. He's already got 38 yards. I'm sorry, 37 yards receiving. So we're at 3rd and inches. Oakland will probably throw the ball. And that's broken up. It'll be interesting to see if he goes for it or if what he does here. And they're going to go for it, and it gets sniffed out and stopped. So that is a big stop for Carolina with 2:28 left. Now let's see if they can actually make something of it. So that's a 16-yard gain. They have 3 timeouts left, so they're not in a rush. They've got time. That one got broken up by Adar, who is one of the better corners in the league. So 6 yards. It'll bring up a 3rd and 3 with a minute 33 left. You definitely want to see a little bit more urgency in trying to get to the end zone. When that one gets broken up, this is an interesting thing. They're going to try the field goal. And it's good. So now it's 28-13. So essentially it's a two touchdown game at this point. So Zelensky not having one of his best games so far. But with a minute 11 left, Peter's not going to park it. He's likely going to try to at least run the clock out and try to get down. That doesn't help to get a unnecessary roughness call because it could move Oakland closer to field goal range. It has a really good run by Easterling. Yeah, it's a good thing. It's always nice when you see the logic of the game playing out the right way, which is to call the timeout. Um, That's a penalty on Oakland, if I'm not mistaken. So that pushes them out of field goal range. But of course, this run will get them back in field goal range on 3rd and 20. So they'll kick the field goal. And it is good. So Oakland is up 31-13 with 23 seconds left in the second quarter. So far, again, Giordano is having a huge game in this one. They won't return it. I'm going to pause it at halftime. So we'll see if they can get something going here, and they don't. So 3 seconds left. This will be the last play of the half. And that falls incomplete. So where we're at is at the end of the first half, it's 31, Oakland 31, Carolina 13. As you can see, it's very one-sided at this point. Carolina has 146 yards of total offense. Oakland has 341. Um, Essentially, both teams have only had one sack. There's not a whole lot of penalties going on, but I think the key differentiator right here is this 3 of 5 on third downs versus 1 of 6, and just the difference in first downs. And of course, in the first half, it's not going to show me that, but it's definitely been one-sided. It's all been Oakland. So we'll see if the second half plays out differently. So Carolina's kicking to Oakland to begin the second half. Again, our score is 31-13. Oakland, so Peter is having had a monster first half. Let's see what he does in the second half. He gets the ball back because he deferred in the first half, and lots of time, another big completion. Um, and just so people, if you're wondering, is Carolina actually has a pretty good secondary. Between Barreto and Mayo, they've got some really good people back though. It's just this is that's a touchdown. So touchdown, he finds wide receiver Thomas Orta. So now we are talking. It is 38-13. Um, I think we're getting closer and closer to the point that this one may likely be oval. Um, Not to give any lack of credit to the Carolina offense, but right now the Carolina defense isn't showing any inclination that they can stop Oakland. Um, Whereas Oakland is showing an inclination that they can stop Carolina. So that's a penalty on Vulture. That's willed. Unsportsmanlike conduct, that's going to back him up to 3rd and 19, and that's a sack. So Kohler gets in there. Kohler is one of the better defensive ends in the league, definitely one of the better ones on Oakland. So they'll have to punt this ball away on 4th and 29, which means Oakland's going to get the ball in really good field position. So if Oakland scores here, I think that this game is pretty much over. So Carolina's defense has really got to buckle down on this one and stop them because they haven't really stopped them at all. And again, tons of time. Um, that could be a touchdown, and it is, and that will make it 45-13. This game's over. So with 10 minutes left, Peter was up 45-13, and the only reason why I'm saying it's over is because of the fact that I don't think that Oakland has punted a single time in this game so far. I could be wrong on that one. Um, and they're essentially driving down the field at will and scoring. So I think this is the point where you just got to get the ball in Zelensky's hand and give him a little bit of time and hope that he can make something happen. Schumacher, of course, is one of the really talented wide receivers out of Baylor. Um, but I think they're at a point where maybe stop doing the cutesy thing with Fulcher and really start to buckle down a little bit. So this will be a good drive. Again, if there is a team that can come back from this, it is Carolina, but that it's asking a lot for them to be able to do that. So again, the moving the chain, 2nd and 4. Definitely throwing the ball a little bit more. Zelensky is getting good protection, which is what they need. So that's another first down. So he's 10 of 18 for 129 yards. They get a 1st and 5 because of the neutral zone infraction by Oakland. So hopefully they can keep using that. And another completion for a first down with 5:40 left. Carolina is putting together a very solid drive, and one, it's good because they're eating away the clock to slow Oakland down a little bit. And part of it is Oakland's defense, I'm sorry, Carolina's defense has been on the field a lot. So false start, that'll hurt because it backs them up. They definitely need to come away from here with a touchdown if they're going to stay in the game. And it looks like they got it. So that was Zelensky finding Bledsoe, who's the star running back. Really good drive there from Zelensky. So it's 45-19. We'll see if they can get a stop here. Again, there theoretically is enough time for them to come back, but if Oakland keeps doing things like that, it's going to be really hard. So what you want from Carolina here is a turnover or stop in order to try to just keep moving forward with the game. Now, bear in mind that they did get a stop on a 4th down and inches, and I think that's the only time that Peter didn't score so far in this game. So this is 2nd and 9. Again, Giordano has just had a huge game. Mayo, if I were to look at this, I think Mayo has been beat pretty consistently by whoever he's been defending against. So that was a good run stop there for 2nd and 10. But if you look at it, Giordano 16 of 23 for 393 yards. Make that now over 400 yards with 5 touchdowns. And now we are looking at a 52-19 score. This isn't. I'll tell you this. This is not what I expected. I expected the game to be a little bit closer. So it's the AFC part of me, which is like, wow, great job, Peter. You bring it back to the AFC after Carolina took it for the NFC. But yeah, I didn't expect it to be like this. So Zelensky gets a pretty crucial completion. I definitely didn't expect Giordano to almost double what Zelensky has throwing the ball. So Sam King is a really fast tight end. It's a good game for him for 24 yards. And another sack. This time it was a corner blitz. Angelo Mayo got it. So I think that's like 3 sacks on Zelensky so far. That's a really good completion to Scholl. So that got them the first down after the sack. It's going to be another sack. So Shipman gets it this time. Definitely, I think the difference in the two sides is Oakland is putting tremendous pressure on Zelensky and the quarterback, whereas when you look at the other side of the ball, um, and that's a really needed touchdown to Sam King. On the other side of the ball, you're not really seeing Carolina put much pressure on Giordano. So 52-26 is our score. We're in the 4th quarter now. And I mean, this theoretically, I've seen stranger things happen. But definitely Carolina needs to force a couple 3-and-outs if they're going to have any shot of coming back here. But they may also just be playing to get the score more respectable. But again, Peter is just, he's doing a really good job of getting these long plays uh, completed. That one is incomplete, but 449 yards on 25 attempts with 5 touchdowns. That's pretty obscene from a quarterback. It's probably one of the better performances. If you told me it was Reno, I would probably see that. Carolina, of course, gets a penalty, which moves Oakland closer. We have 7 minutes left in this game. At this point, the game's really over, and Peter's going to score again. So I think Pendergrass gets his second touchdown. He may have broken 100 yards. So Peter at this point has 3 receivers with over 100 yards. Just a huge effort from Oakland, as it's 59-26. So these are always hard to commentate. You like the closer games because it's easier to talk through. I do like that Zelensky is finding King a lot. I think it's a matchup issue for Carolina. Um, I'm not a matchup issue for Carolina. It's a matchup issue for Oakland. King is one of those tight ends that's really, really fast, and it's going to be hard for a linebacker to cover him. I would say it, but I'm not going to jinx it. But this game has been relatively clean from a turnover perspective. So really great run here. Fulcher, I don't think he's going to make it, but a 36-yard run. And we have Julio Arsenault, who's hurt. That will hurt Oakland's defense a little bit. And see if they get touchdown hill. And they do. So game's opening up a little bit here in the fourth, late in the game. So we have 3:36 left. And the score is 59-33. So if you're an if you like offensive games, this game has been very offensive. Easterling gets another decent run. Hill. So and Leonard gets another really good run. Carolina calls a timeout with 2:19 left. Oakland is definitely just trying to run the clock out, it looks like. So they may get a stop here. It's 3rd and 1. And they would have got a stop if it wasn't for the horse collar. So Oakland gets a first down. The game's been over for probably about 10 minutes now, just based on the performance. And I think this is Will normally would just nail the ball. But it's 3rd and 12. And another penalty on Carolina, which creates a 1st and goal. We'll see what setting. The way it's playing out is Peter has it set to conservative because they're not really trying to score. They're just trying to run the clock out. Now, it's at the 7 with 1:22 left. They kick the field goal, which will give them the score of 62-33. I'll have to go back and look. This may actually be one of the highest scoring games that I can remember. I don't remember there being a championship game where one of the teams scored 62 points. So with 105 left, the game is definitely out of reach for Carolina. They have no timeouts left. And now they're just playing to keep the score a little bit more within reason. So Sam King has definitely had a really strong second half. And that one will be incomplete. And we're coming up with 22 seconds left on 2nd and 10. With this score 62-33, Oakland essentially had won the game coming into the fourth quarter. I would argue that they probably had won the game with maybe like 5 minutes left in the third quarter. And then, of course, King misses that one, and this will be the last play of the game, which thankfully will go to Carolina. They'll get one last chance, but it's not enough. And your WWPF champion is Oakland. Congratulations, Peter. Definitely seemed to have Invisible's number. So if you look at it, Zelensky finished the day with 316 yards, 4 touchdowns. But definitely the person of the game was Giordano with what he had. And I'll go ahead and show the score just so we can see the stats. So if we look at this at the box score, um, I mean, at the end of the first half, it was 31-13. At the end of the third quarter, it was 52-19. Pretty much at that point, it was over. I would argue it essentially was over with 10 minutes left in the third quarter when Oakland went up 45-13. Giordano in relief of the injured Raynor, 70% passing, 467 yards, passing 6 touchdowns. They only got sacked once, 152 rating. Zelensky had a pretty solid game. Most of this came in the second half with 4 touchdowns. He did get sacked 4 times. From a rushing perspective, Leonard had a pretty decent game. Definitely Pendergrass was huge in the passing attack, as was Orta. So 3 different wide receivers had over 100 yards. The big person was Shaw for the Panthers. And then if you look at the defensive stats, really Price had a pretty decent game. Unfortunately for Barreto and Mayor, they both were getting pretty consistently burned. Mayor did not have a good game. He seemed to constantly be getting burned over the top. On the opposite side, you had multiple people with sacks, so Cole, Shipman, Wyatt, and Mile. You had Adil, who just had a monster game with 4 pass defenses, which is just pretty phenomenal. And then on the offensive line, of course, Schulte with his 7 pancakes, McDonald with 7 pancakes. And then on the opposite side, you had Martin. So congratulations to both of you. It definitely was an offensive game, uh, especially for Oakland, who in the first half, well, really for the first 3 quarters, held Carolina in check until the last one, where Carolina was actually able to move the ball. So what's up next is awards, which actually we'll just play that out now because we will go ahead and do that. Such as advance. I don't think I disagree with any of that. I'm just looking at this. I don't think I disagree with that. So the awards, the playoff MVP goes to Leonard. Spriggs wins the league MVP. He's just had a monster year for the Jets with 69 touchdowns, over 6,000 yards. I don't think anybody would argue about Sousa. 22 sacks. He just had a monster season. So congrats still, Kevin. And then, of course, Spriggs is with DP. Ramon Krause, no argument though. He had a monster season for Dallas with 134 tackles. And then I would argue that Arturio Bates, I'm just going to give it to him. I don't ever change what the CPU picks, by the way. But Bates had a strong season with over 5,000 yards, 43 touchdowns. And he's, of course, the rookie for the Houston out of Ohio State. And then we will go ahead and Hill. So the next sim will be the season flip, where we will switch over to the 2024 version of the game. I thank you for your time tonight. Again, Oakland, in a pretty one-sided game, defeated the Carolina Panthers. Peter now has his 10th title, and the only sad thing is that Raynor wasn't able to play, but you wouldn't know. You would have thought that Giordano essentially was Raynor. Just a strong performance for him. Zelensky tried to keep it close, but Oakland just ran away with it in the first half. and then through the first three quarters was just in a very strong position. So thank you for the time tonight. Hopefully you will like this video, and if you want to join us, all the information is in the video. Thank you for your time. Hope you enjoy this. Talk to you later.